Welcome back to college football final whistle. As tonight we've got an interesting lineup. Yes, as you heard, the first whistle has sounded and it's time to start breaking things down. Here on college football final whistle, we've got plenty of games to talk about, but you're looking at yours truly, Austin Williams for Sports Talk with Austin, and my co-host here to help me break it all down, Jackson Johnson of the Jacksonian. Jackson, how are you? And happy college football Saturday.
Oh, thank you, man. It's great to be back celebrating some college football. It's back, baby. And a buddy of ours, Timothy Green, has come in the chat, said, hey, Jess Johnson, good luck with your new show, sir. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it, man. And wish nothing but awesomeness. I'm sorry about those Mountaineers
Yes.
today.
We will be getting to them as well and talking about them. Unfortunately, it's part of the unfortunate part of our business, Jackson. You got to talk about the good and the bad and the ugly. And speaking of that, Jackson, as much as I don't like to talk about this, we got to talk about it. The good, the bad, the ugly. The Colorado Buffaloes pulling out a tight one on a Thursday night. Jackson,
terrible.
I'll let you start on this one, Jackson.
That defense is just same old sewer water like it was last year. I mean, I've seen more things edible than that Colorado defense. I mean, the offense saved the day. Don't get me wrong. We saw Jimmy Horn making some great catches, and we saw Travis Hunter making some great plays as well. Shedeur Sanders made some fantastic passes. He had 26 of 34 completed passes, 445 passing yards, and 4 touchdowns. But the thing is, the defense was just a complete and total disaster. But I will say, I didn't hear a single thing about North Dakota and what they're like going in this year. Not at all on Thursday night. You know who their first-year head coach is?
Who's that, good buddy?
Tim Polisic. Now, I wonder if he's going to be in that Nets cradle of coaches. But because honestly, it seems like history is on his side. Craig Bowl started the tradition of winning in Fargo, North Dakota for North Dakota State. And they won quite a lot of national titles, got the ball rolling, becoming that FCS dynasty. Then we saw Chris Kleiman take it over, and he turned that into a job at Kansas State, becoming the new head man, replacing Bill Schneider. Then we see Matt Entz getting some wins here and there. Now he's working at USC as the assistant head coach for defense and linebackers head coach. And who knows, Sunday night and beyond, USC could really get that defense fixed. He could probably turn that into a head coaching job. But now we got Tim Polisic. He's had a pretty good resume. He was the right-hand man of Craig Bowl in the last 3 years at Wyoming as the offensive coordinator and QB's coach. He was no line coach under Kurt Ferentz at Iowa, and he coached under Craig Bowl at North Dakota State from 2006 to 2012. And he was a tight ends fullback coach for 2013 at Northern Illinois when they almost had a shot at getting back to a BCS Bowl. But unfortunately,
I will say that,
we didn't hear any of that. But no worries. You get to hear all this on the final whistle. So you're good to go right here.
Yes. Jackson and me will keep you informed on that. But Jackson, I must say, for as much bad as Colorado showed in this game, there was one player that showed us he has a bright future in the NFL, and that's Travis Hunter. That dude is a baller, Jackson. He had 3 touchdown catches on this Bison defense, and including the game-sealing touchdown. Jackson, did you see that the way his body could torque on that catch? Like no
Oh,
human's body should bend that way, and he still caught it.
oh yeah. It was just like holy Toledo. But that first down play where they should just like taken a knee, run out the clock. They didn't do that.
No.
And I remember College Football Nerds was saying this reeks of last year's Miami Georgia Tech game. But luckily they didn't. I mean, the Hail Mary pass for North Dakota State was going to get where they were looking for a miracle. They were 5 yards short.
I got to say this too, Jackson. Something that concerns me is Colorado's offensive line. It's still bad. Like, they couldn't even run the ball still. And they had Dallin Haiti, the transfer from Ohio State. And I thought, okay, they brought him into the portal. They upgraded the O-line. I'm like, okay, they can't be as bad as they were last year. Jackson, this first game, they looked pretty bad. Like, Shedeur got hit a lot in this game. Like, I'm a little concerned for Colorado and offensive line. And like you said, Jackson, their defense is not looking too hot either. Colorado is still got a lot of things to clean up.
Oh yeah. I mean they got to fix that defense. They got lucky on Thursday night. Next week they may not be so lucky.
But I will say this though, Jackson. I do think Colorado, they've been able to get by with their offense. And I feel like, Jackson, if they get to 6-7 wins, it's going to be because their offense is playing at such a high level. I mean, Jackson, I know it was against an FCS team, but the way that their offense looked, it looked like they never missed a step. Shedeur, Travis, Horn, they look good. They just get the running game and the O-line fixed. Colorado's offense may be top 10 in the country. Time it's all said and done.
Oh yeah. But
Jackson,
there'll be some things getting figured out.
But there's another game, Jackson, that occurred on Thursday. And it was delayed for a bit. It was delayed for a bit because of the weather. You know, Mother Nature does like to play the mess around on us all sometimes, especially here, especially in certain states. But Minnesota and North Carolina, with the Tar Heels getting the W. But some unfortunate news. Max Johnson, broken leg, is done for the season, but the Tar Heels still prevail at the end. Jackson, what was your takeaway from this game? And is PJ Fleck's seat starting to get hot?
Well, it feels like it. That magic of 2019 has pretty much all worn off. It's all gone. At least I feel that way.
And the thing too is, Jackson, we talked about this on our Wednesday show predicting this game. You almost said this was a must-win for PJ Fleck because, as you say, people put up with your quirks as long as you're doing great and winning and having fun. They're like, oh, we're winning, so we don't really pay too much attention. But now, Jackson, coming off of a big season opening loss like this, PJ Fleck is going to get a lot of flack. And if Minnesota can't get at least to a bowl game, his seat could be on fire next year.
I don't even know if there will be a next year the way things are going. I mean, I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but some fans just have little tolerance. And on the one hand, you know, maybe this is a good idea to be like, you know what, fire him. But at the same time, it's who are you going to get? Who's your candidates? You can't just be willy-nilly and have no plan.
I'm with you, Jackson. If they fire PJ Fleck, I don't know who exactly they're going to try to go get. Do you have any candidates in mind? Because normally you have a few off the top of your head.
Matt Entz from the USC linebackers coach from USC. Let me see. I would say
Jackson,
Jason Candle from
maybe
Toledo.
yeah, Jackson, maybe a sleeper one, maybe. But do you think there's ever a chance that Scott Frost could make a return?
Hell no.
I mean, because he had so much success with UCF and those other teams that maybe Minnesota would give him another chance.
Yeah, well, we'll wait and see. But I think he'll have to work for Kirby Smart to get a second chance.
I mean, do you think, Jackson, there's a chance that Pat Fitzgerald could go to Minnesota?
No. That's not happening.
Oh, I'm just throwing out options. But I will say, congrats to North Carolina, but it's sad to see Max Johnson go down for the season. Such a talented quarterback. But we saw Connor Harrell come in, Jackson, and lead him on the game-winning drive. He showed flashes, but there's a lot of critics out there, Jackson, that think that North Carolina may need to go deeper into their quarterback depth chart because they don't like what Connor Harrell see, like what they've seen with him. And and here's the thing, Jackson. We can't speak from the Carolina perspective because obviously we're not Tar Heels fans, but we can speak from the college football fan perspective. Jackson, did you like what you've seen from Connor Harrell? Do you think maybe Mac Brown should give him a chance? Or do you think they should go look elsewhere?
I think, honestly, I would give Harrell a chance. But also, I wanted to look at the wide right from Dragon Kisage at Minnesota. It was unfortunate that they missed that field goal.
This is true, yes. Because Minnesota makes the field goal. PJ, we're not talking about PJ Fleck possibly getting hot or getting fired. But so both these teams, Jackson, have got some questions going into the future. But North Carolina got a nice W, one more win towards bowl eligible. Now, Jackson, there was another game that I think we should really touch on that happened on a Friday night, and that was Michigan State and Florida Atlantic. The Spartans survive. John Smith wins his first game as Sparty's head coach. Any quick takeaways you have on this game, Jackson?
Yeah, it was. I see that Michigan State did not score any points in the second half. That's bad.
Yeah. And Jackson, there was a really bad targeting call that should have been called. Now, don't get me wrong, Jackson. As you say, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. But Michigan State still looks like they need some time. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah. It was funny. Their QB was like, bet the over. Yeah, I doubt that.
Yeah.
But
Sparty
I wonder what the over was. Oh, 12.5, Michigan State. And the over-under was 44.5. Yeah, I would say
the under on everything. Jackson, I'm spamming the under. If you could see me, I'm hitting the keyboard. I'm spamming that under.
But
it's
a disaster.
But Jackson, now we can talk about the games today. And Jackson, boy, oh boy,
what about that?
We started off
Stanford game like that. That was like a holy Toledo game.
Yes, touch on that real quick. Jackson, maybe Stanford's not as bad as we think they're gonna be. Maybe they're a little better, or maybe TCU. I know, Clint Foster from the Biggest of 12 on the Voice of College Football. he has really high hopes for his TCU Horned Frogs. But Jackson, I'll let you defend yourself on this, but you are not a big fan of Sonny Dykes. You do not think he's the man to lead TCU into the future.
I want to see what he can do with his own players and not with Gary Patterson leftovers. Because he had a lot of Gary Patterson players in his first year at TCU. And I saw his record at Cal. It was a disaster. His record at SMU, it was meh. I didn't like it all that much. But it was better than Chad Morris's, but that's not really much to brag about. And at Louisiana Tech, he had a 10-win season his last year there, but that was a WAC conference on its last legs, and it was without Boise State. It didn't have BYU and Utah in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So
no,
it wasn't really anything to brag about. And I sound super negative on Coach Dykes, but he hasn't really given me a whole lot to work with here.
Yes. I will say this, Jackson. This was a really fun game for a Friday night game. Both teams were competitive. Congrats to TCU. But now, Jackson, there was one game that we were pumped up about and thought, oh, this might be a great game. It turned out to be a wah-wah-wah. And it's one of your favorite rivalries, Penn State, West Virginia.
Oh, man.
Jackson, what the heck happened? You built this game up? Go ahead.
I had such high hopes for this game. I wanted to see this game to be so much more than what it was. I mean, Drew Lahr had a fantastic game. 11 of 17 completed passes, 216 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, Nick Singleton had a great game, 114 rushing yards and 1 rushing touchdown. And, Harrison Wallace III had 2 touchdowns, 117 receiving yards. But it was unfortunate, but they were not. West Virginia did not look so hot today. And Penn State
Jackson,
was a better team.
We got to preface this too, Jackson. There was also a lightning and rain delay. But Jackson, West Virginia just didn't look like they wanted to play today either. Like, I don't know if it's just something where you come out of that long break and you just don't want to play. But Jackson, it looked like Penn State had complete control from the beginning. It was all theirs. Drew Aller, Nick Singleton. Penn State looked like they showed themselves to be a top 10 team. And like you said, Jackson, Penn State, you wanted to see them tested. But there was no test to be had today.
Yeah.
And looks like, Jackson, we're going to find out what Penn State's made of when they get into conference.
Oh, yeah. On the bright side, they don't have Michigan or Oregon on their schedule. So that's a win for Penn State.
But, Jackson, you want to know something else?
What's that?
Talking about bright sides. Is there a bright side for Clemson? Because
I mean, I know everybody's gonna look like ass against Georgia. I mean, that's just how it is. Everybody's gonna look like that. I think it was Danny Cannell from Cover 3 and CBS Sports on X today. He was talking about how all those people going after Dabo because he won't use the transfer portal. Well, Ole Miss got all those transfer portal guys, and they still got their butts handed to them by Georgia. Well, here's my thing. I just want to see what's going to happen the rest of the year for Clemson. And I don't think they're out of the playoff race, obviously. They're not. They just have to at least get to
Get it together.
ACC title game and win it, which I don't like where it is for Clemson so far. It's not looking so good for them. And next week is going to be Appalachian State, so maybe they'll get it together by then, but we're going to wait and see. So what I'll do is pull up the rest of Clemson's schedule for the time being. And everyone in the chat, y'all tell me if you see this being an ACC title season for Clemson, or if this is the schedule where they make it. What do you think, Austin?
So I'm looking at this schedule, Jackson. Clemson, their schedule, they got NC State after the bye. They got Florida State in Tallahassee. They got Louisville down the road. Then they got, of course, South Carolina, which is out of conference. This looks like Jackson, which we'll get to, some of these other ACC teams later. But Jackson, it feels like, and this is crazy to say, but I think the rest of the ACC has caught up to Clemson. Maybe even some of them have passed them. And Jackson, and I don't want to sound negative, but Dabo is being very stubborn, not wanting to use the transfer portal. And don't get me wrong, I respect Dabo Swinney and what he believes in. He's openly said that he's creating this program in God's image, and he's doing this what the Lord would want him to do. And that's all great. Don't get me wrong. We all love the Lord here. Everybody has their beliefs. But Dabo, you got to use transfer portal sometimes, buddy. Like go out and get the players that you recruited and that you wanted, but are now in the transfer portal. And it shouldn't feel like dirty or bad because you're going to get the player that you already know and love. Like in Jackson, and I get sometimes coaches get stuck in their ways, right?
Oh, yeah.
And we know this very, very well. But Jackson, let me ask you this. We're talking about PJ Fleck, and I'm sure we'll talk about some of the other coaches that may have a hot seat talk after their games. But Jackson, do you ever think there's going to be a world where maybe Dabo Swinney gets put in this conversation? Or do you think Clemson's just thankful that he's given them so many great years that they're willing to put up with it?
I think he's going to have a little more leeway for the rest of this season. But after that, I think we're going to wait and see. Yeah, if they lose to North Carolina State, the gloves are coming off.
Yeah, I could see that being like where the fan base is like some of them, Jacksons, we already know are like already done with him. They're like, okay, if you're not going to use the portal, get out of here. And then there's some that are like, we can't do that. He's won 2 natties with us. But I will say, though, Jackson, on the Georgia side of things, there for a minute, Jackson, they look kind of sloppy. Like, if you look at the box score from this game, it was 0-0. And then it was, I believe, 6-0 at halftime or 13-3. It was kind of sloppy. Like, I get it's the first game and teams take time to warm up. And maybe Clemson's defense is as good as advertised, too. But once Carson Beck and that offense got rolling, Jackson, they look like the Georgia that everyone knows. And that should be scared of if you play them.
Oh, yeah. Well, and the fact is they got like a 40-game regular season winning streak that dates back to 2020. The last time they lost a regular season game was against Florida on November 7th.
Which, Jackson, speaking of Florida, would you like to talk about Florida?
Oh, you know I would. I am gonna enjoy this. I mean, the 2024 edition of the Florida Miami rivalry. Oh my God. Like, Cam Ward had an amazing debut against those Florida Gators. And we got a fight on from Megan. How you doing tonight, Megan? Thank you for tuning in to tonight's edition of the Final Whistle.
Thank you,
And
Megan. Fight on. Go
oh yeah,
Trojans.
there we go. Go Trojans. And we see that Cam Ward had a humongous game. 26 of 35 completed passes, 385 passing yards, 3 touchdown passes. And we see he had 33 rushing yards and 3 carries. He was tremendous. So are we. We're excited about USC LSU. Although I
Yes,
always like to call him LS Who for giggles.
I am too, Jackson. That LSU USC, I've been looking forward to that since it was announced. That's going to be my favorite game of the weekend, especially if LSU wins. Because then, Jackson, we're going to hear your favorite thing. LSU's going to go to the SEC title game. We're going to hear they're going to win it all. And then we're going to hear you have a venting session, which is great for views.
There we go. And I get live down here tomorrow, down here at 9:30 a.m. tomorrow. Yeah, because like you're in like a how many hours are you ahead exactly? Like, are you like 14 hours? Yeah, because like right now for me, it's midnight, and my good buddy Austin's an hour ahead of me at 1 a.m. I'm guessing it's the afternoon where you're at. I'm assuming, correct, Megan? 17 hours. Holy Toledo. Holy.
It's already tomorrow.
3 p.m. Sunday. Oh, man. Is the future looking better right now on Sunday, September 1st? Oh, right. We are technically in September 1st. My error.
But, Jackson, I know you're going to unwatch on Florida, which I'm going to let you, but I want to talk about Miami for just a minute here because, Jackson, I said Wednesday night, I believe this is probably the most complete Miami team we've seen in a while. And I know, Jackson, you would love nothing more than a Miami Florida State ACC title game. That's one of your dreams that you have told me about over and over. Miami Florida State for the ACC. Hopefully, Florida State holds up their end. But Jackson, Miami, they look like a complete team. And, sometimes all it takes is a quarterback, as we know, Jackson. Was Cam Ward the missing piece all along? Him to Estrepo, him with his running ability, was he the missing piece, Jackson?
It's looking that way. But we've got the rest of the 2024 season to find out. I mean, this Florida team is not exactly Urban Meyer, Tim Tebow, or the fun and gun offense with Steve Spurrier. This is a god-awful disaster team that hasn't even had a winning season since 2020. That's bad. That is bad when your last season of having a winning season was the COVID year. And Megan says, "Was surprised Gators got this result." I thought it'd be a little closer, but oh well, you win some, you lose some.
I was too. Jackson, I thought this would be it's a rivalry game. I thought maybe this would be one of those ones that go down to the end. Miami, as you like to say, good buddy, took them behind the woodshed from the beginning and then skull dragged them, as you like to say. This was a butt whooping.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they got out the belt and pulled the Gators' pants down and gave them a spanking. That's what they did. I mean, they beat their ass with a belt was what they did, especially Cam Ward. He had that belt ready and raring to go for Gainesville. I mean, they had it ready. And as for Billy Napier, I know it's like you wouldn't ask if
Oh
somebody's
boy.
going to get. I know nobody would be asking, are you going to get fired the day after week one? I mean, if you're getting fired the day after week one, that means something really bad has happened. But it just doesn't feel like right now a sign of good things are to come for the Florida Gators in Gainesville because it's not. It looks terrible. This is not this does not even look like a 6-win team. It looks like something that I saw from Brady Hoke at Michigan in 2014. This looks like a god awful
Oh,
team.
I will say this though, Jackson. Florida needs to fix their effort too. You know, we talk about Colorado and their defense and all that. Florida, if you're watching, fix your effort. Act like you care because Jackson, did you see the way their defense, played? Not wanting to tackle, not wanting to chase after Cam Ward. He was literally jogging to the sideline on live action play. Why?
Yeah.
Like,
It-
like Jackson, if you're a head coach and you see your player doing that, wouldn't you yell at them and be telling them,
Mhm.
get your butt and run? I don't care if you hit him out of bounds. That's wrong, but at least you show me some effort. Like,
Yeah.
that was a pitiful effort, Florida. That was pitiful. And the defense, leaving people wide open. Florida, if you expect to be the Florida of old, show some dang effort. Act like you care. Like, makes me angry, Jackson, when they don't show effort. Like, care about beating Miami. You should want to beat them, and you should want to beat them badly. Why are you not giving the effort and hustle? Because you are a Florida Gator. You should want to do this. You are a Florida Gator. You should be wanting to play for national titles and be competing for the SEC every dang year. But instead, you're worried about I guess let him walk, let him take his girlfriend down and have a picnic. I mean, come on, Florida, help a brother out. I put so much faith in you, and you're doing this to me. I'm sorry for the rant, guys, but this makes me angry not showing some effort.
What do you think, Austin? Did Florida think Miami was going to be an easy win?
Honestly, Jackson, the way they played, I think they did, because why else would you give that kind of effort? But here's the thing, Jackson. As you know, rivalry games are always not an easy W to have. Like, Jackson, I know personally from my fan base, and I'm sure you would agree and Megan would agree for USC, no matter how good or bad your rivalry is, it's never an easy dub. You can never say, oh, that's a W. Never chalk it up. Like, Jackson, look at how many times Auburn's been down. Have you ever said, oh, that's an easy dub for Bama?
Yeah.
No.
Like last year on After Dark, when people were like, because I was getting cut for saying, oh, Auburn's not going to be easy for Alabama. And I'm like, well, here's the thing. Has anybody watched the history of the Iron Bowl? Auburn's always bringing their A game for Alabama at Jordan-Hare. Of course it's going to happen.
Exactly. And as Megan says here in the comments, UCLA games are always tough for us, meaning USC. And they should be, because it's a rivalry you should want to beat. Beat your rival. You should care about that. State pride matters. Like, and now Florida's going to have to live with the fact that Miami's going to be parading around saying that they're the U and that the state of Florida belongs to them. I hope you're happy, Florida. You did this to yourself.
So that coaching situation is a disaster. But I wonder who they'll get. Like, are they going to be getting Jed Fish? Are they going to be getting Jamie Chadwell? Are they getting Rhett Lashley? Are they going to be getting somebody from the Power Four? Heck, are they even going to consider Lance Leipold from Kansas? Because I'll be honest, I want a guy that's winning at Kansas. I'll
Well, the thing is, too, Jackson, do you think he would leave what he's built at Kansas, too? I know the almighty dollar speaks to some people, but Lance Leopold seems like a guy. It would take a lot to get him away from Kansas and what he's built.
That's true, because I mean, it is a food for thought. Because I mean, he had the Wisconsin, Nebraska jobs offered to him during 2022. He's like, no, I'm staying what I'm going to build at Kansas. And 2023, there are a lot of job offers. I mean, after like the Nick Saban retirement, the whole storm of coaching carousel was coming out. And then Lance Leopold's asked, hey, are you going to leave Kansas? And then he puts out a tweet at 6, 7 a.m. in the morning saying, we got to get rolling for 2024 spring practice. And it wasn't some PR stunt. It was genuine. That told me right then and there. He's happy at Lawrence, Kansas. And unless there's something bigger. I don't know. But it's like, if he's not leaving after 2023 or after 2024, then he's never gonna leave Kansas.
I agree. I feel like Jackson. I would say if I was a betting man, I would say he's gonna be at Kansas for the rest of his career. I think he's that loyal.
Yeah, because I mean, you win at Kansas, everybody will build a statue of you. Barry,
you're a legend.
Yeah, I mean, you have 10-win seasons over there. You're gonna be awesome. If you're coaching at a Blue Blood and you're having a 10-win season over there, everybody's mad at you because you didn't do enough. You didn't do enough. They're like the spoiled rich kids on Christmas morning, or like that kid on Harry Potter. There's like throwing a fit over having 39 presents and counting, where he wanted 40. That's how the Blue Blood fans are. Like guys like me, and I don't want to say like, oh, I'm not like that, but it's like, I've seen some stuff that's like, I mean, it could be worse. I mean,
well, Jackson, for example, not to get too far in the weeds, but for example, Jackson, like Alabama fans, they were upset when y'all were ranked 5th in the preseason poll. They were upset, and they were like, oh, Coach Saban would never have us ranked 5th. How dare that? Kalen DeBoer, he's already off to a bad start. And Jackson, and this is nothing against you because you're a great Bama fan, but some Alabama fans, if they're not number one, the sky's falling. It's terrible.
Oh, I don't care what you're ranked in the preseason. Like me personally, I don't care what you're ranked. I don't care if you're unranked. I want to see what you do during the season, because if you're letting the hype from the preseason go to your head and you're acting like you can just do whatever you want by drinking a bunch of Yoo-Hoo sodas and getting in hot tubs, smiling and acting a fool. Well, I won't tell you right now, it's gonna bite you eventually. This la-dee-da, I can do what I want. It'll bite you. It'll bite you.
I agree, Jackson. Like, it's going to bite you big in the butt if you think you're hot stuff when you're actually not.
Yep.
But Jackson, there was some other... wrong button. But there were some other interesting games that happened today. Jackson, speaking of Alabama, let's talk about your Crimson Tide and what you thought of their performance.
Yeah, I mean, the first edition of the Kalen DeBoer era, that was pretty good. I was impressed by some of the plays I saw today. I mean, especially by this kid named Brian Williams. I mean, 2 of the receptions he made resulted in two touchdowns. And there was like somebody on Twitter talking about like Randy Moss. Like anytime he made a reception in that one game, it was sometime around the 90s. in like 98, 99. He had like 3 receptions and it resulted in 3 touchdowns. And he had like 200 something receiving yards. But I got to tell you, I'm loving what our receiving core is bringing out. I'm loving what we're bringing
Yes.
out. Ryan Williams and Cubby Prentice. I sure as heck love what Jalen Milroe's bringing out this year. And, I know it's just a Western Kentucky game, but still, it was a great game. I love what Caleb DeBoer is going to bring out for 2024 season. I mean, I don't care about getting the natty in the first season. I want to see like a natty in like 2025, 2026. But I mean, if Alabama won it all in 2024, I mean that would be pretty awesome. I just want to see the awesomeness that we've had from the Saban era continue. And I can tell you, I feel like it's continuing with Kalen DeBoer. All those people that are, because like I heard it when he got hired. Like I heard like 1 or 2 of my relatives having a bad attitude because it's like he's not even from the South. He's never even coached in the South. Okay, well, look at the history of Alabama football again. Like, do it again. And look at who we got to replace Wallace Wade in 1931. A guy named Frank Thomas, who was a former player for Newt Rodney in the 1920s at Notre Dame when they were dominating all of college football. And there are some people like, oh, well, he's not even from the South. He's not even from the South. Well, guess what? Northern Boy got us a bunch of wins, got us a bunch of SEC titles, got us a national title in 1934, the same year where Donald Duck first appeared. Got us a natty in 1941. Got us competing for a natty in 1945. Got us a bunch of SEC titles in the 30s and 40s. Got us to the granddaddy of them all in 1937, although unfortunately we lost to California 9-0 in that matchup.
Yeah. Jackson, I will say, Megan makes a great comment. She's like, did the other team come to play? Well, I guess they decided to stay on the plane today. They were like, we're playing Alabama. Let's just not. Let's just go out there so we don't get fined. But in all seriousness, though, Alabama looked good today.
Well, there was Jackson, like one drive I thought about where Western Kentucky had like a 21 play drive, and it resulted. It was like a 21 play 9-minute drive in the second quarter, and it was 71 yards. They couldn't get a single point. They couldn't get a field goal or nothing. They couldn't get a field goal, touchdown, or nothing. It's like you can't. Megan perfectly states that is an ass kicking. Agreed. And we got Jay Snow going. You're Jay Snow. How you doing tonight, good buddy? Thanks for tuning in. Oh,
Jackson. But you know who else took a butt kicking today? Austin Peay, because they thought they could come into our state, our city, and Jackson. We showed them a thing or two what it's like to be in Cardinal Town.
Oh, yeah,
and I will say this, Jackson. I won't get too excited, but Tyler Shough, that offense looked really good. And Jackson, you tell Alabama, thank you for Ja'Corey Brooks. Thank you for him. He did us wonders today. So Jackson, from the state of Louisville, Jackson, thank you for not using him, because he's going to have a nice home over here in Louisville.
Well, you can definitely say that on the second edition of Crimson Tide Live on Alabama The Voice College Football, 5 p.m. for sure. I'm sure Crimson Tide Nation is going to enjoy that, man.
I will tell you all a big thank you for helping our success. But I will say on this, I won't spend too much time on this either. because there was some nightcap games that were much better than this. But I will say, Jackson, we looked pretty good. Obviously it's Austin P. You're supposed to eat your cupcake, right, Jackson? You're supposed to beat the cupcake, right? But
oh yeah,
I'm excited for this team, and Jackson, we could be one of the favorites to win the ACC. I don't want to sound too ahead of myself, but we could be. We could be.
yep, absolutely, man.
But I will say, Jackson, what in the holy heck happened to Oregon today, good buddy? I know we got the other two games that were on same time as them, but Oregon, what the heck was that? Like, did Oregon come to play today? Because they almost lost to Idaho, where potatoes come from, Jackson.
I think everybody is sloppy. I mean, I'm not excusing it or anything. It's just everybody is sloppy in week 0 and week 1. I think that's what it is. Everybody's just kind of getting themselves prepared and all that.
Jackson, I would agree with you normally, but there's no excuse. Oregon's the third-ranked team in the country. Did you see the kind of whooping Alabama put on their opponent? Oregon should have followed suit. I'm a little concerned now because if they're playing Idaho close, Lord only knows what's going to happen when they start playing the Purdue's and everybody else of the world. Like, Jackson, This is concerning. Look how many times Dylan Gabriel had to pass the ball. And even Megan agrees she says, I agree, Oregon looked bad. Like, I'm not saying set the fire alarm, but be careful. Because in the Big Ten, you will not get away with that.
I mean, if they're doing that every week, that's when to sound the alarm. I don't think... I think if they do this again next Saturday on Peacock against Boise State, then there's an issue.
So, Jackson, you're not wanting to panic. Okay. That's fair. I understand that. But Jackson,
I don't really like to panic on results based on week 0, week 1. I think like week 5, week 6, week 7, that's like the perfect starting time to kind of panic. But it really depends who you are. Like Oregon, I don't think they should panic. I would say like more of a Florida State or a Clemson. They need to start worrying a little bit more. Florida should definitely panic, but Oregon, not so much.
See, here's the thing, Jackson, and I'm not trying to start an argument, but Jackson, you realize that they were ranked 3rd in the country. So
yes, I do.
They're basically telling us Oregon's one of the 3 best teams as we sit tonight. I'm a little worried if they're playing Idaho close.
I mean, they have to show it, no doubt about it.
Now, Jackson, don't get me wrong. I'm trying my best not to overreact, but it's Idaho. Like, it's making it really hard for me. But I will say this. I'll follow your lead, and we'll see what happens next week. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe this was just a bad week. Or maybe Idaho was just that much more ready. I'll calm down, come back next week, and we'll see where we're at.
Yeah, I mean, schools like Idaho will always bring their A game against an Oregon. I mean, let's look at Idaho's schedule. I don't think they're going to bring their A game against Wyoming on True TV or Abilene Christian. So it's like, no, they're just not.
Well, Jackson, another team that Jackson that kind of struggled but got it together towards the end was Michigan, the defending national champions, as they set out on their quest.
Yeah, I mean, there's like 1 or 2 people comparing it to 2011 Auburn, Utah State. I wouldn't go that far to compare it to 2011 Auburn, Utah State, because Auburn didn't get it together until the fourth quarter, but like scored a game-winning touchdown in like the final minute against Utah State. So I wouldn't exactly compare Michigan, Fresno State to 2011 Auburn, Utah State, but that's just me now.
Jackson, did I not warn you about Fresno State? Them dogs they sometimes nip you.
Oh yeah,
Jackson, you can
Let's look
even
at
be
that
the witness to this.
Yeah, let's look at
the
that Bulldog. He looks bad. Like let's look at him again. Yeah, he looks bad.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that Bulldog. Like let's look at him again. Like
he looks angry, like he's gonna bite you.
Yeah, he's like.
Jackson, I will say this. I don't know how much of this game you caught, but did you see the Michigan quarterback play? It looked pretty rough.
Davis Warren.
It looked pretty rough. Go ahead.
I feel like, honestly, it's a little bit like last season for Alabama. The quarterback play for the first 2-3 weeks of the season, where a lot of Bama Nation was panicking about Jalen Milroe, and then it was, you know what, we're gonna go with Tyler Buechner, and then Tyler Buechner didn't exactly work out for us after the South Florida game, because it was like, you know what, we're not going with Tyler Buechner, we're gonna go with Jalen Milroe. Guess what? Things have worked out since. And, you know, I remember I was talking with like a few people at Discord. They were like telling me, are you worried about like Milroe? Or do you think like, you know, like Tyler Buechner is that next QB? Are you right? It's like, nah, I think they should stick with Milroe. Because I mean, there's somewhere in that archive of messages where I was like, I think we should just stick with Milroe. And it worked out fine.
Now, I will say in this game, Jackson, this was a fun game to watch. I was flipping back and forth. But, Jackson, Michigan's defense is legit once again. Like, coming up with the pick six at the end. Making sure Mikey King doesn't get running outside the pocket. But Michigan's quarterback play, definitely something to be watchful for, especially next week against Texas. Like, we'll talk about that game Wednesday night when we predict it. But Michigan did what they had to do to get the W. I would say on a panic level, 1 to 10, I'm like at a 5 with them, Jackson, because there was some concern in this game. I don't know if obviously, we're not going to set the alarm. You know, obviously, the national champions don't always return everybody. And you got a new mixed pieces and plus new head coach. I'll give them a pass. And Fresno, I would say, is a quality opponent, Jackson. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah.
A quality opponent.
Totally. I mean, despite the fact that they don't have their head coach, Jeff Tedford, they're still a quality opponent. Like, for those that look back at the Pat Hill era, the Pat Hill years, he was tremendous for the Bulldogs. I mean, they always got a big win against somebody they shouldn't have beaten, like a Wisconsin, a UCLA. I mean, look back at that 08 Wisconsin Fresno State game. That was a tight one. And they were always given, and, you know, that win against Rutgers on Labor Day. I mean, it's not huge for like a Louisville, and it's damn sure not huge for Alabama USC, but it's still huge for a program like a Fresno State. So it's like,
Jackson, you want to know something huge that happened today? We totally forgot to talk about this when we were talking about the afternoon slates, but we'll do this before we get to the final game and the main course. Jackson, Vanderbilt.
Oh,
upset they had today. Jackson, were we too harsh on Vandy?
I think all of us have underestimated Vanderbilt, which, I mean, I thought to myself, I'm hoping Diego Pavia wins at Vandy like he did at New Mexico State. I mean, I'm not expecting playoff. I mean, that's not going to happen, but, you know, maybe like a 7-8 win season. I'd like to see him get it at Vandy, but we'll see. But I mean, they brought their A game against Virginia Tech. It was pretty huge right there. We see Mr. Pavea as he had 190 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 12 of 16 passes completed, 26 carries, 104 rushing yards, 1 touchdown. So he had 3 total touchdowns and 294 total offensive yards. This guy is a winner. We saw what he did at New Mexico State last year in that magical Cinderella season that they had.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jackson, here's the thing, too. To add on to your point, when we predicted this game, Jackson, we thought Vandy was like, we thought Virginia Tech, not that they're not legit, but we thought, okay, Kyle Jones is now the quarterback. Brent Fry's going to get this thing rolling. Vandy's just not on their level. They're the bottom of the SEC. And lo and behold, Jackson, they pull off a stunner. This is what Vandy does, Jackson. When you count them out, they find a way to get that W. Now, obviously, we're not going to say Vanderbilt's going to win the SEC. That would be preposterous.
Yeah.
But you never know. But I will say this, though, Jackson.
Because it feels like bowl eligibility has gotten a little bit easier for them. Question
yes,
is,
I was about ready.
Can they make it into something?
Bring that up. Well, because a lot of people think Vandy 2-10, 3-9. I could see a world, Jackson. Maybe they somehow sneak their way to 6-6. I mean, they play Akron next week, and Akron played Ohio State pretty tough for the majority of their game today. But then Ohio State and their abilities and talent, and then of course they play Georgia State. You know, Jackson, they could start off 3-0.
Yeah.
And if they could somehow steal a couple conference games in there, Vanderbilt could be looking at a bowl game.
Oh yeah. So that was a huge win.
The question is, though, Jackson, do you think Vanderbilt is a bowl team? Because you are one that, Jackson, loves you some Commodores.
Well, I mean, I have more sympathy for them because they don't have a whole lot of bowls in their school history. And, you know, I was talking with my buddy TJ at Wolverines Live at the Voice of College Football from Michigan. It was, you know, that I wanted to see Vandy win because it was, you know, they don't win that much. So it was a win. Damn.
And Jackson, we got to give kudos where kudos is due. And Dave is welcome in, Dave. Where have you been? You're just now joining the party. We had the Elephants and the Drafts here. Heck, we even had the Badgers here. You missed it.
Well,
he's here now.
He's actually a Minnesota fan. He's often called Minnesota. Did I get that right, Dave? You're Minnesota Dave, correct? Yeah, Vanderbilt is the Northwestern of the SEC. Yeah, it's too bad that those two schools don't play each other all that often.
That's an interesting comparison, though.
Yeah.
I never thought of that, Jackson. Interesting. But yeah.
Well, you Jackson, know, they are both kind of like Duke as well, because I mean, every time they have a good season, everybody celebrates it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I gotta say this too. I gotta say this too, Jackson. You know, talking about celebration, Georgia Tech can now celebrate that they're 2-0, that they didn't fall for the upset. Jackson, you know, we're giving a lot of love to the Canes, But are the Yellow Jackets for real? Could they be the team? Could they be the team playing for the ACC title in late December, early January?
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I mean, I don't want to call it too early. And on the one hand, I'm like, let the whole season play out. But on the other hand, it's still pretty cool seeing Georgia Tech winning again. And, I always hate it when people talk so much crap about, Georgia Tech, where it's like, they're not worth anything. Hello, they got the Atlanta TV market. And even without that, they still have a decent football history. They're not Wake Forest. No offense to Wake Forest.
That's fine. But, Jackson, I know you talked heavy about this in our preview. You said Georgia State's not a team to go napping on, especially after a big win. This could be spoiler alert time. But Georgia Tech looked like they played focused, they played ready, they wanted to be there. Ricky Jackson, he's starting to win me over. Like I always knew he was a good coach, but now he's starting to win me over just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Brent Key's done a magnificent job, and I'm sure he reminded his guys, like, hey, I mean, we should be in the top 25, but here's saying they're not going to rank us until Tuesday. If we can beat Georgia State, they will rank us on Tuesday. If we don't beat them, we're not going to be in the top 25. I'm sure he got that straight. He drilled that into their heads real quick.
Mm-hmm. And Dave, with the comment, Miami is the team to beat in the ACC. I agree, Dave. I think they are. I think it's them, and then you can have a conversation after the results we've seen so far. It's Miami, and then everybody else's discussion. Jackson, Are you ready to say Miami's the team to beat?
I want to see more of the ACC play out. I want to see all the non-conference games be done first. I'd want to see the first 3 weeks of conference week be played first. I don't want to just say, oh, Miami's going to kick everybody's butt because, they beat Florida. Again, because it's not 2008 Florida we're talking here. It's pitiful Florida. They're Nebraska 2.0, which, Dave, I think you talked about Nebraska having a quote-unquote shitty football culture on the Voice of College Football's 24-hour live stream last year. I'm thinking that could be the same thing with Florida because they have a god-awful football culture. I mean, good grief. My dog Bear, who's old and sleeps a lot, has more football culture than the Florida Gators.
Oh boy, this turned into a Florida roasting session. Well, you know something though, Jackson? I bet you were real happy at this result. It was the biggest game of maybe the weekend. Mike Elko versus Riley Leonard. The master versus the student. And Jackson, I know you're happy on more than one level because now you don't have to hear Texas A&M's back and Texas A&M's going to win the SEC or Texas A&M's going to win the Natty. You won't have to hear any of that talk.
No.
You could put that to bed now.
True. But for once, I can actually say I was pretty impressed with A&M. In spite of the fact that they lost tonight, I feel like they can be a pretty good team with Mike Elko. I don't feel like there's that overhyped mentality of I can act however I want.
Wait. Well, let me make sure this is recording. Jackson's impressed with Texas A&M. Are we back in 2012? Is Johnny Manziel the quarterback?
Nope. No, he's not. Would you like for me?
Jackson,
Connor Wegman's the quarterback.
Jackson, are you feeling okay?
I'm okay.
You never give Texas A&M credit. Okay, this is the first. Go ahead. Jackson, you almost made me faint.
Well, it's just that ESPN overhypes them. That's why it's just I get in a bad mood real quick with ESPN overhyping teams, or when anybody in general overhypes them. But I'm not gonna give Florida slack, not this year anyway. Oh man,
Oh my gosh. I think I think I've heard all tonight, folks. Jackson just gave Texas A&M credit. This is a first. This is the first. But go ahead, Jackson. Finish what you were saying.
yeah, I mean, because like they actually look pretty good against Notre Dame, and everybody looked good tonight. They had fantastic defenses, especially in the first half. I mean, nobody scored a touchdown until the third quarter. That's pretty huge right then and there. But I would like to see more of the Aggies in 2024 and beyond, because I mean, I like Mike Elko, because I've been saying I'm gonna have to see it to believe it. Because that's been my thing. I want to see it to believe it. It's I don't want to feel like we're hearing too much hype. I got nothing personal against the Aggies. It's just I just want to see if they're because I don't see any players that are out smoking weed 30 minutes before they play South Carolina. I mean, you want to talk about a bad football culture? That's a bad culture right there. I mean, you want to get drunk or high on your own time? That's fine. But don't be doing it 30 minutes before game time. But I mean, that was the Jimbo Fisher culture. Kevin Sumlin, they kind of let the 2012 season go to their heads. So there was that. But Mike Elko, I'm hoping he can, make some magic happen for College Station, because I really genuinely wish him nothing but awesomeness. I like what he's bringing, because I mean, I'm hoping they're bringing like $100 million attitude, like on and off the field, like not like this. I can do whatever I want attitude. I'm talking about this. I'm ready to earn what I can on and off the field. I want to bring my best.
And I will say this, Jackson, this was a fun game. Like, I know a lot of people may say, oh, this game stunk. And I get that for some people. Defensive game's not some people's forte. Jackson, me personally, I love these type of games. I wish we get more of them in this modern era, where it's like 7-3, 10-9, where the defenses are slugging it, where we find out who's got more grit, who's playing with more heart, who wants it the most. Because Jackson, I loved this football game. And Jackson, Riley Leonard, I owe Notre Dame an apology, because I thought they would choke this game away. It was a big game environment, hostile environment, but they came through and got it done. Notre Dame, you have earned my respect. And you won in a big environment. Riley Leonard, he's a big game baller. We knew that from Duke last year, but him putting his body on the line, Jackson, it was just one of those things that I earned a lot of respect for Notre Dame tonight. And they got the run game going late. Jackson, the ceiling for this Notre Dame team, I don't want to say it's national title or bust, but Jackson, they have a pretty high ceiling. And you can make an argument they have one of the best secondaries in the country.
Oh, yeah.
With Benjamin Morrison back there and company. Go ahead, Jackson.
I think they have to at least win a playoff game. Like that's my...
That's fair.
Yeah, because it's like...
That's fair.
Yeah, because I mean, we know they can win the big games in the regular season. And the third year is, if you want to win, if you're hoping that if you are looking for that breakout season, now's a good time, Coach Freeman, because you better bring it out. You better bring out the stones for the Fighting Irish. You better lead that team in the greatness. And it seems like they brought it out. And I know everybody's like, well, they got an easy schedule. They got an easy schedule. Well, I mean, we still got to see the rest of the year. They look like a playoff team. But the question remains, can they win a playoff game? Can they win that big game in the postseason? Because they have not done it since the Lou Holtz era. But I digress. I do this with everybody. It's not just to the Notre Dames and the Cowboys and the Floridas of the world. I do it to everybody. I don't do it to sound personal or mean. I just say what I see. I'm looking at this like I'm making an investment. So that's what I do.
And I will say this though, Jackson. You know, both teams showed a lot tonight. Give Texas A&M all the credit in the world. They showed a lot of heart. They played hard for Coach Elko. I like what I saw from them too, Jackson. I would not be surprised if Texas A&M goes 8-4, 9-3, even in a tough SEC. They seem like they're re-engaged, they're re-energized. Mike Elko has got them going in the right direction. I mean, both these teams, I know one of them had to lose, Jackson, but I think they both walked off the field tonight with winners, so to speak. You know, neither team should be ashamed of this performance. I think it showed us both a lot, especially Notre Dame getting that monkey off the back of, oh, you can't win the big game. Ha, ha, ha. We can't pick you to win a big one. I think they finally exercised some demons, so to speak. And Texas A&M showed that they're going to be a good football team, I think. But as you say, Jackson, it's week one. A lot could change from now until the end of the year.
Exactly.
But I will say, Jackson, before we wrap up for the night, there
were a few more games that I was really thinking about, like Ashton Genty from Boise State. Did you catch his numbers today against Georgia Southern?
Yes, he had like 20 rushing attempts. He had over 6 touchdowns.
Yeah, he had
256 on the ground.
Yep, 267 rushing yards, 6 touchdowns, 20 carries. You know, like that meme where it says college football 25 is unrealistic. Realistic plays.
Yes.
Yep. And our buddy Dave Belinsky said Texas A&M needs to beat Texas to reclaim the state for recruiting. Agreed.
Yes. I feel like if they beat Texas, I agree, Dave. The recruiting might flip back in A&M's favor, might. But I will say, Jackson, I don't know if you watched any of this game or not, but Texas Tech escaping Abilene Christian
again
game on the back end.
Like Texas Tech again, just screwing up in week one. Oh my God! I mean, they did this last year against Wyoming, and then it took them going to overtime to beat Abilene Christian. Oh no! It's like I heard the hype. We all heard it that Texas Tech's life's gonna be easier in the Big 12 now that Texas and Oklahoma are gone. Oh, we're gonna see some wins for Joey McGuire and the Red Raiders. Oh man. It was just oh my God.
Yes.
Like I mean
so Jackson, I caught the back half of that game and I was like, what the heck is actually going on? I was like, wow. Go ahead, good buddy.
My mic was off. Sorry about that. But yeah, it was pitiful for the Red Raiders. It was pitiful.
Yes. Pitiful, and pitiful. But what were you going to say, though, good buddy? So I'm sure you found another game in the roughage of the diamonds, as they say.
Well, I mean, a few of them, they weren't exactly exciting games that you want to like get back and watch. But if you like keeping up with bad beats here and there, here's one for Saturday, for example. Iowa, Illinois State. Iowa scored all 40 points, but they had to get to like 40. The over under was 42 and a half, I believe. Guess what? It was under 42. So that's bad right there.
Brings up Dave's question: is Iowa's office day a marriage, a marriage, or do they still suck?
I think
What do
it
you
still
think, Jackson?
it still sucks, but I think not as sucky as it was under Brian Ferentz, but it's not really anything to brag about. I mean, a baby can do a baby sucking on its toes can do a better job than Brian Ferentz's offense coordinator, because at least a baby's going to make better play calls than Brian Ferentz. Brian Ferentz just gets whatever because his daddy's Kirk Ferentz.
Agreed. And Jackson, a couple other games that I thought, obviously Indiana, they looked really good.
Oh yeah. Well, this Rutgers game, was a bad beat either way. Because look at the over under. 51 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? And the total points, 51 total. And
Now,
how many
Jackson,
points?
Go ahead.
And the total points was 51, but Rutgers was also favored by 38 and a half. So guess what happened? They won by 37. So even if they had gotten the extra point, they still would have been a bad beat. So it's like some of the people that are really into gambling on college football, like if you put Rutgers Howard on your parlay and you expected Rutgers to beat the spread, I'm sure you're tearing all your hair out from that game. But if you bet the spread against Rutgers, it was free real estate.
And I will say this, Jackson, another game I want to bring up before we head out of here for the night is, Jackson, what did I tell you about Barry Odom and UNLV Rebels? Don't sleep on them.
They spanked them. Oh my God. It was 27-7.
Jackson, I know you love you some Willie Fritz, but Houston, Jackson, they got bigger problems than that Willie Fritz cannot fix. They are still not looking too hot.
No. Because, I mean, it's going to be a long progress for Houston to get that team fixed. It's going to take at least another year, 2 years for Houston to get fully fixed. Barry Odom's done a terrific job. The question is for UNLV, because, I mean, they got Kansas on their schedule and they got Syracuse on their schedule. Can they go unbeaten in non-conference play? Can they go unbeaten in conference play, then win the Mount West, and will it be good enough to be a playoff team? Can they be that team? Or if not, will we see Barry Odom back in the coaching carousel, or is he happy in Vegas? Is he happy at UNLV? That's going to be a huge question right then and there. And, we'll be asking that question. And I know there's like a game that, some people really didn't pay attention to. And I'm not going to expect everybody to pay attention to this Nets game. Kent State, Pittsburgh. But here's why I paid attention to it a little bit. Do you know why that is, Austin?
Why is that, Jackson? Enlighten me.
Well, because it was the under the radar pick from Steve Merrill at Wager Talk at for the Voice College Football. And he told Mark that he expected to see Pittsburgh beat the spread against Kent State. That was his under the radar pick. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, This man is now 22-5 in his under the radar picks. That's not a guy I'd be betting against on under the radar picks. If the man says Pittsburgh will beat spread, then they're going to beat spread. Because let's look at it. It was pretty scary for a moment. It looked pretty scary if you're a betting man. So in the fourth quarter, from what we saw, it was looking like, oh, well, they may not beat the spread. Well, yeah, tail end of the third quarter and the start of the fourth quarter, it looked like, oh, well, that's not going to happen. Well, Pittsburgh gets a field goal. And then there's a 5-play, 55-yard drive. Nate Yarnell throws some passes, especially a 6-yard pass to Raphael Williams for a top-notch touchdown. And then we see Pitt playing against Kent State, making it rough for him, forcing a fumble, recovering it. And then there's an 11-play, 32-yard drive. They get the field goal, 39-yarder, 1 minute left in game. Bam. It's a winner. And we got a yo from Traveling Fools, and a yo to you too, Traveling Fools. Thank you for tuning in to the week 1 edition of the Final Whistle from yours truly, Jackson Johnson, and good buddy Austin Williams from Sports Talk with Austin.
Traveling Fools, this might be Miami's year. It's all about the you,
Yeah,
it's
man.
all
How
about
are
the
you?
you.
Yeah, I caught bits and pieces of the Miami post game. Like it was pretty cool, and I want to say congratulations on the U winning against Florida, because like Austin's heard a lot from me tonight about my venting sessions about Florida, about not playing Miami every year. I mean, he's heard it all week from me. He's heard me venting constantly about how they won't play Miami. They've been avoiding them since the late 80s, and how, you know, Florida, like I was hoping for Miami to beat Florida.
Yeah, Traveling Fools, he's a diva when it comes to that. Like
Damn
working
right.
with this guy's like working with Beyonce. No, I love Jackson. Wouldn't do it with anybody else.
Ah, man. Yeah, man. I mean, you're like a brother, man. It's like I'm always gonna make sure things are all right for people that are around me, man. It's all good.
But yes, Traveling Fools, he's telling the truth. He's upset that Miami and Florida don't play every year.
As well as I should be. I mean, because that's bad for the state. But that's no time for another day.
Another time for another day. Oh my goodness! But yeah,
I mean,
there's another
yeah,
game.
I mean, because like when you check out like one of my past episodes of the Jacksonium from last week with Locked On Canes, Locked On ACC with Alex Dono, we have a little bit of a venting session about that.
Agreed. Now, Jackson, I will say, before another game that I just thought of on the fly, Northwestern Miami, Ohio.
Oh,
What a thrilling game that was. The Redhawks almost spoiled the Wildcats home opener.
Oh, that was a low-scoring matchup. Holy Toledo, that was low. Oh, there's our buddies, Indiana. Shout out to our friend Jeffrey at Only Talk Sports, as he saw a very happy 31-7 victory against Florida International.
Jeffrey in the house.
There we go. Although, certain guy we know of thought it was going to be a butt whooping. He thought it was going to be Indiana, getting whooped by Florida International. And I'm like, which Indiana team are you watching exactly? But I digress. Here's Northwestern Miami, Ohio. What was your take from this game?
So my take for this game, Jackson, was I caught some of it, and I thought to myself, I was like, I know Northwestern's not as talented as team, but my oh my, I thought they would win this game by at least 10 points. And I'm thinking, they're going to blow this, aren't they? They're somehow going to blow this.
Yep.
Jackson, in our college pick'em that we do, we all picked Northwestern. I thought, oh boy, we got the curse going, like game day does.
Now, I don't believe in that horse dung, but that's neither here nor there. I'm not going to worry about it.
Jackson, don't believe in that horse dung.
No.
Oh, only you, Jackson. Only you.
Because, I mean, it is horse dung. I mean, you know, it's just like, you know, it's like, oh, God, this team's going to lose because everybody picked this team. It's like, yeah, that's not real. They didn't, like, suddenly decide they were going to lose because Reese Davis and Kirk Herbstreit didn't pick a certain team or Lee Corso didn't pick this team. It's like, I don't think that's how it works, but we'll definitely have to make a video about that one of these days.
Oh, yes. And Dave with the comment says, what is it? 2 years they have played at the Bachelor? How do you say that, Jackson?
Bleacher Stadium.
Bleacher Stadium. Poor Northwestern still can't draw their fans to come to an 18,000 stadium. That's right. They're playing in Soldier Field now, right, Jackson?
For the time being, I believe. Their stadium situation is a cluster at the moment. Let me see. Yeah, it's NW Medicine at Martin Stadium, and they're playing at Ryan Field. So they're kind of having a little, yeah, and they're playing at Wrigley Field for November against Ohio State and Illinois.
Mm-hmm. And Dave with another interesting comment that I kind of agree with. The middle of the road Big Ten teams did not impress me. Well, that was actually going to be a next segue because Jackson, we gave a lot of flack to Western Michigan, but they kept it pretty close with Wisconsin on a Friday night. That game was pretty tight.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Jackson? Do you think that was more of Wisconsin, or was Western Michigan better than we thought?
I think it was a little bit of Wisconsin, honestly. I didn't, but I think they're going to bring their A game against Alabama week 3. Like, we're not going to see like a horrible performance. Everybody's going to bring their A game against the Blue Bloods. That's just how it works, especially when you got Camp Randall on your side.
Mm-hmm. Jackson, and another thing, what happened to Wyoming, good buddy? Did you see what happened to them tonight?
Oh, they got
Where did their offense go? What happened to their offense? That's what I want to know.
They got shellacked. That's what happened. I mean, they're having to get used to a new system without Craig Ball now. That's the thing.
I mean, Jackson, I understand it's week 1, but there's been a lot of games that I'm scratching my head at. Like, okay. Like, trying to figure out what in the world is wrong with these teams. I get it's week 1, it's a new season, anything can happen. But good grief.
Yep. Said it perfectly like Charlie Brown. I love it.
And another, I guess, little fun little mention, Jackson, Syracuse won. Kyle McCord looked good in that game. I caught a few minutes of that. But they're playing Ohio, a MAC school, so you have to take that with a grain of salt as well.
Yeah.
I will say that this, Jackson, it's been a fun week 1, but I want to ask you, and the chat could get on this too. Jackson, what was your performer of the week or game of the day? Just anything that caught your eye up to this point.
I would say like my game of the week for me was like it's a tie between Florida Miami and Notre Dame Texas A&M. I mean, what can I say? I miss the Florida Miami rivalry. Like I hate that's not annual, so it's like that's gonna happen.
And Dave brings up another great point. Oregon didn't look good even look good against Idaho. I know, David,
No.
but Jackson is very calm about this. Like I'm telling Jackson, this is not a good look for Oregon, but he's telling me, calm down. It's just week one. Settle the horses back down. Jackson, you're more calm about that than I am.
It's all right. I mean, it's nature of the business because, I mean, you got to have one person that's like, oh, no, the sky is falling, the sky is falling, run for cover. And the one person is like,
like, breathe, the sky's not falling. But I will say, though, Jackson, continue on your point, though, about your game of the week or maybe your performer of the week. Go for it.
Well, I wanted to go over like my performer of the week, and it's got to go to Boise State running back, Ashton Jeanty. The
That's a good
guy,
pick.
20 carries, 267 rushing yards, and 6 touchdowns. I got to be honest, I was torn between him and my Bama man, Ryan Williams. I mean, 2 receptions and 2 touchdowns.
Well, it looks like Jackson has left the building. I guess he had enough of whatever it was. But not to fear. I will save the show. No. Jackson.
I'm sorry about that. I pressed the wrong key. I was so excited about some of the performances. Holy Toledo. It's
Okay, Jackson's back. I was about to say, what? The show's going off the rails. But go ahead, Jackson. Finish what you were going to say. And don't get excited this time.
Well, I mean, I love what Ryan Williams brought out. 2 receptions, 139 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. Like, because I was torn between him and Ashton Jeanty, and because I was, and Cam Ward. That was another one. In his debut as a Florida Gator, my God, he was tremendous against those Gators. The numbers were just staggering. I mean, we can go take a look at him. He had 385 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 33 rushing yards, which makes it 418 total offensive yards.
I will say this, Jackson. Those are some great picks. My game of the week, I chose Texas A&M Notre Dame. I thought that was a fantastic game all the way to the end. Them and Carolina, Minnesota, I thought that was a really good game. Especially if you like, I won't say mediocrity, but it was a really good game for 2 teams that are middle of the road. Those would be my picks for games of the week. And then obviously my players of the week or performances of the week, I have to give a shout out and some love to my boys down in the Ville. Tyler Shuck balled out, but he's not my pick though. He's an honorable mention. Jackson, my pick, I got to give the game ball to Riley Leonard and Notre Dame. If Will's watching, he would love that. Riley Leonard gets my game ball of the week because the way he played down towards the end and was able to lead this team on the game-winning drive, and the way he was able to play, shaking off those sacks, and I really like what he did. Jalen Milroe, he deserves an honorable mention. Cam Ward, he was a consideration. Ashton Jeanty, Jackson Dart, his game had over 7 touchdowns and 1 rushing. There was some big performance day, but Riley Leonard gets my game ball. He's my performer of the week, and Texas A&M and Notre Dame would probably be my game of the week. But and Dave points out, I give it to the guy that lit off the fireworks a little prematurely after the Gopher North Carolina game. That was embarrassing. Yes, you should know your cue.
Yeah. Well, and I will say though, I wish that the dramatic Gopher was there for when North Carolina was kicking that field goal. I wish he was there. That would have been awesome to see the dramatic Gopher. But I'm guessing there's like a rule that got rid of it, unfortunately.
Well, and Troy V gets in on the conversation, which we love. Love when people get in on the conversations. He says, I'm very biased, but J.J. Smith was my performer of the week. True freshman in game 1 of the season with 2 TDs and some other great catches. I caught the Ohio State game, Troy V. He looked good. And Will Howard, he looked pretty good too. Ohio State looked pretty good, but they were playing Akron. So, as you say, Jackson, we can't overreact. We can't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Nope.
But Ohio State looked good. Maybe the demise of the Ohio State offense has been greatly exaggerated because of, Chip Kelly. God forbid Chip Kelly run your offense. You're screwed. Let's calm down.
Yep. So it's like...
And I forgot to bring this up, Jackson, but did you watch any of Hawaii and UCLA? Last game I thought of. Did you watch any of that?
I unfortunately did not, but I saw where UCLA came back and won it.
Jackson, I'm very concerned for them.
Well, it is their first year. It's a culture change. I still think everybody at that department that handled the Chip Kelly situation very poorly needs to be fired quick, fast, in a hurry. They should have been fired because of it was just so piss poor. We thought it was going to be, USC and Cal would be the last games. No, they're not. Oh, no, he's going to coach against Boise State. And UCLA looked like crap against California last year. 36-7. Good God. So it's just a disaster.
Jackson, I'll never forget, Jackson. You were so mad when you heard the news that it could possibly be he could get fired when the college football playoff rankings were coming out. And he was like, that is just so wrong. They're trying to upstage this moment. Like, Jackson, you were getting pretty mad. Like, there's been a few times where I've seen you go off the deep end. You were getting mad about that. You were like, if you're going to announce he's fired, that's fine. But announce it at a different time.
Oh, yeah.
Not during the college football playoff ranking. Not during one of the most important times of the year.
No. Because, that's not the way you should be handling it. Like, wait. If you got to be like, oh, well, this person's fired and you got to make that announcement, wait till when no one's really talking about anything, or just wait till there's like a good time.
Exactly.
Like,
Jackson, you know what it is? But you know what else is going to be a good time, though, Jackson? Because if you enjoyed this show, boy, oh boy, wait till Monday night. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we will be back again Monday night for a special edition of The Final Whistle as we'll recap SC, LSU, and Boston College, Florida State. We're going to be back. So bring your conversation, bring your wife, bring your kids, bring tea, bring popcorn, bring whatever you want. Hey,
bring the cashiers. Bring
them all. Bring your fan base if you want. But we're going to be talking some more football on a special edition, Labor Day edition, on Monday night after Florida State, Boston College go final. So, the 2 games over the weekend, you think, oh, man, I'd really like to hear what these two think of it, especially LSU if they win, because we know what Jackson's going to start doing. I want to see him rant and rave about Brian Kelly winning another big game. Well, not to fear. We will talk about it on Monday night. You will not have to fear. And I know you all are itching for Jackson to go on a rant. Don't worry. LSU wins Sunday night. You're going to hear it Monday night after Florida State BC. You're going to hear it all right here on our channels, Sports Talk with Austin and the Jacksonian. But don't forget, while you're here, make sure you like, you comment, subscribe, and click on the notifications. Because you do that, Jackson will deliver you a puppy straight to your door. Guaranteed free of service, and he'll make sure to do it with a smile on his face. Ain't that right, Jackson? You'll be handing out free puppies for every subscriber.
I ain't no Mr. Beast, but I'll see what I can do.
Yes, we're not Mr. Beast, but Jackson will get you your puppy on time the next day.
Yep.
But in all seriousness, though, we will be back Monday night. We hope you all enjoyed this stream. We love talking college football, and we're going to be here every Saturday for you. Weeks 1 all the way till the very end.
Okay.
So if there's any big upsets, don't worry. You're going to hear our reactions. If Alabama gets beat by Wisconsin, Jackson's going to be here to tell you about it. If Louisville gets beat by SMU in the coming weeks, or we get beat next week by Jack State, I'll be here to talk about it. We ain't going nowhere.
Nope, we are not. And of course,
And
you can check out See What I'm Doing on Monday afternoons at 5 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, simulcast on Alabama at the Voice of College Football and SEC at the Voice of College Football for the one and only Crimson Tide Live from Johnny Burks and, of course, myself, as we bring you the latest news and notes on the Alabama Crimson Tide. And of course, we'll be bringing on a very special guest from Underdog Dynasty and Hustle Belt at SB Nation. And let me tell you, he had a pretty good time at Western Michigan, Wisconsin on Friday, but he did not have so much of a good time when Houston was playing UNLV tonight. But tune in to see who my guest will be on X and on Instagram, because I'll tell you right now, I'll be releasing who will be on Sunday and who will be on Monday. Because what Steve, the special guest Johnny and I will discuss is his take on Western Kentucky against Alabama, and what his take on Alabama South Florida will be, and the players to watch for from South Florida. Will we see more of the same from last year in South Florida, or is it, what do you think? Come on in on Alabama at the Voice College Football in the chat, or leave a comment after the show's over to tell us what you think. You decide. Let's get Alabama at the Voice College Football to 2,500 subs. Let's get SEC at the Voice College Football to more than 1,000 subs. And let's get my good buddy Austin to 500 subs. Let's get him there. Let's get him getting closer to 1,000 on X as well.
Yes. And if you want to find me on X, there's my X account at AW1980-2639. Of course, here Sports Talk with Austin 2002 here on YouTube. 2, if you're already subscribed, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you for the much support, and hopefully I can continue to make you all proud. But if you're not subscribed, that's okay. I will win you over eventually, hopefully. But Jackson, we cannot end this show until you blow the final whistle. And what that means, it's over, it's done. The game is over. The final whistle is done. But not to fear, we will be back Monday night after Notre Dame, BC. But until then, stay cool, cats and kittens. We're out. Go Cards, everybody!